For those of you who aren't familiar, and I've learned since I started working at MCC that many of you are not familiar, the MCC is a relatively small, relatively new, independent US government development agency. And we work with a select number of the best governed poor countries around the world. And what we do, we have one single mission, which is to reduce poverty through economic growth. And the way we do that is by helping these countries dig into some of the key challenges that are holding them back in terms of economic growth and poverty reduction. And as a result, since our inception during the Bush administration, we've invested around $11 billion in a whole host of different types of interventions, mostly around roads, power, agriculture, water and sanitation, and education. And we like to say that at MCC, the results agenda and evidence-based decision-making has been built into our DNA. It was sort of baked into our DNA from the very beginning, as Raj indicated. We evaluate everything and we make our evaluations public. We feel that we should be having a conversation with our stakeholders about how we're doing and the best approaches to achieve development results. And I like to say that we practice extreme transparency at MCC, not only because we believe that transparency is important for accountability for results, but also because we think it's important for learning. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about our learning agenda and how that is played out. We go. Oh, look at that. I didn't think that was going to come up. But anyway, this is Javier. You'll meet him in a second. He's the hero of our story. In 2013, MCC doubled down on its commitment to transparency by launching our evaluation catalog. And our evaluation catalog is an online portal on which we place all of our evaluations, but even more so than just the final evaluations, we're also putting all of the data underlying those evaluations up on the evaluation catalog. And the reason why we're doing that is because we think we can contribute to learning if we actually throw open the hood and let people peek underneath. It's not just about what our independent evaluators found, it's also about why they think they found what they found. And that was really what was behind our decision to launch the evaluation catalog. The problem, though, is that the data sets that we were putting up, and it was a lot of work to put them up and took a lot of commitment, a lot of staff time and resources, those data sets were not being downloaded and they were not being used. And we felt that they had learning value and we wanted to encourage that learning value. So what we decided to do is we launched our first Open Data Challenge in 2014 in the hopes that by directly engaging graduate students, whom as you know are always hungry for a good data set to sink their teeth into, we would spur greater use of our data and learn some new lessons to drive good decision making. So enter Javier. Javier is the tall gentleman. Nancy Lee is the shorter woman standing next to him. She's our deputy CEO. And she is congratulating Javier Parada, who is a graduate student at UC Davis, on winning our first Open Data Challenge. So what Javier did is he dug into the evaluation data of a $57 million project in Nicaragua that upgraded nearly 70 kilometers of roads, linking rural communities to urban centers and to each other. And when MCC undertook the project, we had a pretty simple theory of how we were going to contribute to better livelihoods for people. We essentially thought that access to better roads would bring cheaper goods to rural communities. So for those things that everyone wants and needs to get, like toilet paper and toothpaste and soap, people would pay less when they lived near a paved road. So the original evaluator of the project designed an impact evaluation essentially to test this theory. And what he did is he compared the communities that received new paved roads to communities that didn't receive new paved roads and tried to see if prices had fallen with respect to the new paved roads. And what he found, unfortunately, was not much. There was no significant drop in price. So for us, that was sort of a head scratcher. We thought we were going to make a significant impact on these people's lives and their access to consumer goods. And what our evaluator was finding was that we didn't. Javier, though, looked at the same data in a slightly different way. So what he was guided by was the idea that roads reduce transport costs and that prices of goods cover those costs. So he looked specifically at goods that travel between rural towns and urban centers, like toothpaste and soap between the urban centers and the towns, and like freshly caught fish between the towns and the urban centers. And then he compared prices between the rural and urban markets connected by the MCC improved roads. And what he found was that the prices of manufactured goods in rural villages declined relative to urban prices. So prices for the rural produced goods, like fresh fish, actually increased. And what these price movements indicate is that there's a convergence across the rural-urban divide. As it became easier, less risky, more predictable to travel and to bring goods from one place to another, the prices for goods in rural areas started to look like the prices in urban areas. So rather than looking for a drop in prices, Javier was showing us that what we should really be looking for is sort of a convergence of prices across different types of geographies, which was something that we had not necessarily thought about before. So in this case, the skills and insights that Javier brought have really taught us to look at this issue in a new way. And how is that going to drive better decision making at MCC or for US taxpayers? So first of all, it's going to force us to look at our projects in a new way and to really consider the benefits that we're hoping will accrue to our beneficiaries. It's going to help us make better decisions about where to build roads, what kind of roads to build, how many roads to build. It's going to help us conduct more accurate cost-benefit analysis in our investments, which we do on everything before we invest to make sure that we're spending US taxpayer funds wisely and cost-effectively. And it's going to enhance our understanding of how our roads affect the lives and livelihoods of the people that live alongside them. Fundamentally, though, what it means is that we're going to do a second Open Data Challenge because we're so excited about the results of the first that they really taught us something we didn't know to begin with, that we're very excited to launch our second one, which we did recently just as we closed out the first one. So we're very excited to see what we're going to get next. We put up new data sets all the time. Just as soon as they're ready and they're cleaned and we can ensure people's privacy, we post them online. And we encourage everyone who might be here and interested to take a look, take us up on the challenge and see what you can teach MCC about how we can do our jobs better.